Well, that's pretty
good.
cool.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Block 10, which is spines.
You're actually going to say
I
something?
am. I don't know if you heard our mumbles before, but this is the perfect block for a chick flick, a glass of wine, and you won't make a mistake. Just use your markers because it's easy to memorise.
Just use your markers. Yeah, make sure you mark the beginning and the end of the rows.
Oh, and where you need to do your single crochets after the spine. If you've got a glass of wine, that's how I did mine. Actually, I did mine with the gin and tonic.
Anyway,
Oh,
did you?
I did.
Oh, good on you. There you go.
Oh,
So,
and
yes.
this one is mine. Notice that it's not floppy like Tony's. So I'm a tighter knitter, and it doesn't matter if you don't get a 12-inch block. None of mine are 12 inches, but they're still beautiful.
Claire's are closer to 12, and they don't have as much stretch. See? So you might notice that this one is reversible, and it really won't matter. It'll be up to you when you put your block together, whether you put your spines this way or you put it that way. And have you done all the way around the edge?
I have.
As well. Oh my goodness, yes, you have too.
Yeah. But it's not blocked. So this is
hasn't
what it's
been
like.
blocked.
That's why it's not as supple as it could
Yeah,
be.
it
It will
hasn't
be
been
more
blocked.
supple.
What I will say is the spines on one side sit there, and if I don't know if you can tell from here, but the spines on the other side sit in the middle of the spines on the opposite side. So one row your spines sit one stitch in, and the other row they sit 3 or 4 stitches in. So they're opposite to each other. Or no, not opposite. What's that? Counter?
Just in the middle.
In the middle. Yeah, there is another word for it, but I can't think of it right now. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. It's maybe a little bit easier than the one you just did before. This is just all front post stitches where it's raised, but it is the row below. So you've got to watch what you're doing a little bit when you do that. And the tip is turn your hook onto its side to get into the row below, and it's much easier rather than having the hook facing you like you normally would. Just rotate your hook onto the side and you might find that a little bit easier to work. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Claire certainly did by the sound of it. She was very chatty. That's the first time, and we finally got to block 10, and she's actually chatting. How good is that? Okay, let's hope you enjoy this one. Okay. Bye.
Hello everyone, so welcome to Block 10. So what we're going to do today, as well as show you how to do the block, is we thought we would cover a half double crochet foundation. It's really exactly the same as any other foundation row except you're using the half double crochet stitch. So it's chain 2, nice and loosely, 1, 2. Okay, yarn over, and we're going into that first chain that we started with. Yarn over, pull through. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Always remember that the first one creates the chain at the bottom and the second part of the stitch creates the stitch. So the first thing we have to do is create the chain at the bottom. Yarn over, pull through 1. So that's the bottom part of our work. Yarn over for the half double crochet, pull through 3. Do that again. So it's yarn over. So this is the stitch here that we made last round. In we go. Yarn over and pull through. So now we're ready to go. So we're going to make the chain and then we'll make the stitch. Yarn over, pull through. We've made the chain. Just a little hint. If you keep your thumb and middle finger on that chain that you've just made, you know exactly where to go to do your next stitch, and I'll show you. Yarn over and let's do our half double crochet. I've still got my finger on the stitch that we just made, on that chain we just made for the bottom part of the block. So yarn over, where my thumb is, into that stitch down there, and I like to take 2. Some people like 1, but I always take 2. Gives a firmer base. Yarn over, pull through. Okay, now we're ready to make our stitch. We're ready to go. So yarn over and pull through. This bottom chain that you've just made is the beginning of where you're going to put your next stitch when you start the next row. So yarn over and pull through 3. Whoops, I'm probably a bit tight. Still got my finger on the stitch where I need to go, yarn over into that stitch down the bottom, yarn over, pull through. Okay, so the first part of the stitch is making the chain that's at the bottom. There you go, you can see it as we're coming through. Yarn over, pull through 1. Hang on to that stitch, then you know where you're going next time. Now we're going to make our half double crochet. I'll show you one more time. So yarn over, getting ready because it's a half double crochet. Where my thumb is, you can see right here, there's the beginning of that chain. That's where we're going. Into there. So the first thing we do is our chain for the bottom, and then we make our stitch. Yarn over, make your chain, yarn over, pull through. And that is how you do the half double crochet foundation row. We move on to row 3. Okay, so I've got to the end of that, and so I'm going to turn my work and we'll go with the pattern. Oops, daisies. So we're going to chain 1 and around we go. Or you can turn and chain 1, it doesn't really matter. I tend to chain afterwards. Now this chain's not included so in our stitch count, so this stitch here is our first stitch. Okay, so we need to do a single crochet into that stitch there, and then we do a front post double crochet. So round we go. Instead of going into the stitch, we go into the post below, if you remember, which is right there. Now, if you have trouble finding your stitches, you can always mark your first stitch. So this stitch here is our front post double crochet, which means when we keep going with our pattern, which will be 3 single crochets, we're going to start here. So I'm just going to loop that in just so that it can get lost in a front post. It's hard to see where to go. So feel free to do that. So round we go, right down the bottom, find your post, oops, round your post, and do your double crochet. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets. Now I happen to know that that's the stitch we need to go into, so we'll do it for the next one and hopefully it'll stay in. So now we're going to do 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. If you're not sure where to go, mark the next stitch, and I'll put this one in properly so it doesn't fall out. And do our front stitch double crochet, front post, yeah. So around that stitch there, make sure you get underneath in the right spot. Can be a little bit tricky on that first row. And come around here, there we go, and 2, come back to where your marker is, slip your marker out, and then you know that you're right to go for another 3 single crochets. And that is all we need to do for the first row. So I'll mark that stitch again, and we'll go under this post here. Do our double crochet, and then go back to doing 3 single crochets. We're going to, if you're never sure, that's one stitch where you last went in, there's the spare one, so this is your next one right here. Just count them across the top. So at the end, you'll do your 3 single crochets, you'll come down here, you'll stitch around the post, do your double crochet, sorry, around the post, and then it's 1 single crochet into that very last stitch there. Okay, then we're going to do a chain 1, and we will turn our work. So on row 4, we will do 3 single crochets, so remembering that your chain doesn't count as a stitch. And we're going to go and do 1, 2, I'll just get some more yarn. 3, and then on our next stitch we're going to go down and we're going to do around the post a half double crochet, and then we'll go back to our pattern again. So we'll do 3 to the end. 1, so row 2 we've chained 1, we've done 3 single crochets, so mark the stitch where you need to go in for your next one, and we're going to do our front post double crochet, so it's down here, in we go. And this is where we're going to do our first single crochet. We'll do 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll mark this stitch here because that's where we're going to do our first single crochet, and we'll go down here and we'll go onto there, and we're going to repeat that through to the end. So we've got our marked stitch. We'll do our 3 single crochets. To get past your 2 setup rows like this, it's really rhythmical because it's just an easy pattern to remember, and you'll go into your double crochets. So you'll see what I mean next row. It's lovely. It's a really nice, easy, relaxing pattern to do, this one. So on row 4, you finish off after 3 single crochets. So there's a slight adjustment where your posts will lie in between. So that's where we are at the end of row 4. So you can just see there's a post here and a post here. Move that's coming in from the other side. That'll settle down. Posts there, and if I flip over to the other side, these will stand up in a minute. They'll take after the next row, you'll see. So you've got posts on both sides. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to do our chain 1 and turn. If you find it easier to turn and then do a chain 1, feel free to go ahead and do that. So what we do now from rows 5 to 48 is just repeat row 3 and 4. However, now that we've got our front post there, we're going to use those now. So I've done my chain and we're back to row 3, which is a single crochet and then a front post double crochet, but you're going into the front post that you did in your setup row. So yarn over, there is the front post. So we're going under there and up. Double crochet, and then we're going to do our 3 single crochets. So if I undo that, we'll mark our stitch, because on this fabric sometimes it's hard for me to see. So we know that that's our front post, so we'll mark this one here. So yarn over into that front post. And then we will do our 3 single crochets. So we have a front post down here, so we're going to pull that up and we're going to start in our second stitch here. Yarn over, there it is under there, so we're just going to get it under there. Pull along this out and do our 3 single crochets. And continue that to the end of the row. Last one here, so we're going in to do our front post double crochet into the front post double crochet that you did on the previous round, and we'll finish off with our single crochet. If I lay that flat, now you can start to see that the channels that you can see here are starting to come up here. So we'll go through and do our next round. So the next one is row 4. So I'm going to chain 1, turn, but row 4 we start with 3 single crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3. Miss that stitch because that's where we're going to do our half post double crochet. Sorry, our front post double crochet. So find it, there's a little hole under there, in we go, up and around. Do your front post there. My marker out, and I'm going to do my 3 single crochets. Mark where I'm going to do my single crochet, yarn over. There is my front post right there. Oops, yarn over. And continue that right to the end of the row. So on the first one, on row 3, you start with a chain 1 single crochet, and then a front post double crochet. On row 4, you always start with a chain 1, 3 single crochet, and then you do your front post double crochet. Okay, so that's how you know when you're either on row 3 or row 4. So we'll finish this row. So that's 1, 2, 3. So don't forget, you are going down to the row below to get to the front post double crochet. That's absolutely correct. All right, and back up and continue with your single crochets. This should knit up nice and quickly for you. A crochet up, I should say. Crochet up. 3. So I'm going right down. There it is. You'll find at the head of your crochet hook could just slide in underneath it nice and easily for you. So just coming up to my last half post double crochet on the round 4. And finish with the 3 single crochets. So this pattern is just the repeat of that, of 3 and 4, all the way through to row 48. So you can see that the rows are starting. So when you come back, you will come in under here on row 4, and you'll keep building, and that's what will give you the lovely ridge, and the same on the other side. So it's not coming up as clearly on that for you. Let me find a good one for you. There's one there. And you'll keep going up. Now, when you get to row 48 and you finish that row, you get to the end, don't turn your work. Continue then. You're going to work 3 single crochets into the corner. Then on down the side, you're going to work 36 single crochets. Get to the next corner, do your 3 single crochets. You'll do 36 crochets along here to the corner, do 3. right up again, and till you get to the top end, you'll slip into that last stitch and fasten off. And there you go. I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.